Hi, everybody. My name is Susan McKeever, and I am a lecturer in the computer science department in DIT. And I try to help educate a portion of our computer science students into being able to develop apps. So I'm quite involved on the technical end. And the reason that I've been asked to speak about how to make an award-winning app is not because I've made so many award-winning apps, but because I was a judge at the Appies last year. And the Appies is probably the main apps competition that goes on each year. So I'm going to go through the sort of criteria that we looked at to decide what were the best apps, what should get the awards. So it was kind of interesting. Okay, so I'm going to avoid the technical side of things too much, but if you haven't picked this up by now, the sort of main players in the mobile market are Android in terms of volume, Apple's iPhone, and obviously iPad as well, and then Windows. I haven't put those circles directly in proportion to the figures, so but things will change, and in the next year or two, those bubbles may look very different, and there may be new ones in there as well. But just to explain, when people are developing apps, as Claire mentioned, as Tony has mentioned, you can develop apps for a specific platform, so go for one of those specific ones. Or you can develop cross-platform apps, which is one development that will run on all of them. And you might say, well, why wouldn't you always develop cross-platform? The reason is that that technology is probably slightly less developed, I think it's fair to say at that moment, but it's heading that direction. And also you may not have access to some of the sort of phone-specific stuff like cameras or sensors or accelerometers or the other things that your phone can do. So you may still have to go to what's called the native app environment to develop one specifically for Android or Apple or Windows. Okay, so I won't stick on this too much because Claire's already covered some of this, but the most common ones, and I picked Android just for volume, installed over 100 million times. If we look at them, there's Gmail, these will all look very familiar, Angry Birds, Chrome, Skype, Twitter, and WhatsApp. Okay, so they're really windows onto much bigger things. They don't exist on their own. Okay, so it's really something very big behind the scenes, and there's a mobile app to access something that already exists. Okay, but if we look at, Facebook of course is in there as well. If we look at then the ones that are the top earning apps, it's a completely different picture because all those ones that we just looked at are free. So then we're into the games territory. Minecraft, so there's also non-games. Angry Birds is there. Candy Crush, of course, and Instagram was really making money because it was sold for so much money. It's just fun to put it up there because it was sold for X billion dollars. Okay, but there's a variety of different things that are making money. Okay, so if you think about the question to what is your best app on your phone? What's the best app on your phone? Well, the answer is it kind of depends what you mean by best. And this is the same when it comes to award-winning apps. So it depends on, is it the one that you use the most? For me, that's Gmail. This is not the answer. This is my personal answers for my phone. Is it the one you enjoy the most? So for me, that's Flappy Bird, which is a game I have on my phone. But actually, that's really because my 5-year-old loves that. So I enjoy it because it keeps him quiet. Okay, so the one I need the most is arguably Flappy Bird, but I put it in as WhatsApp. And the one I need the most sometimes is Google Maps, Halo, in certain situations when I want to call a cab. The one I paid the most for was Minecraft. Okay, so it's all different segments of value on the app. Okay, and Minecraft was probably the most expensive app that I'll ever buy. It cost me, I think, $5.50, which is still pretty cheap. Okay, and it's not for me, it's for my kids. It's the same point that Claire is making about the niches that are out there, but I'll come to that in a second. Okay, so the way that we judged in the Appies, and I should really have put these down one by one, but we were given a set of criteria to say, here are 40 apps we want you to look at, and we want you to grade them based on these criteria. So all the judges used the same criteria, which is obviously pretty important, or it would be quite hard to come up with something consistent. So the criteria, there were 5 of them. The first one was utility. Okay, and that's the door to everything. If you don't do well on that, on the app, you're wasting your time looking at the next ones. So the utility part was, does it solve a problem for me? Does it make life easier or more fun? That's a slightly trite way of describing it. There was a big long description, but that's the essence of it. Does it solve a problem for me? Okay, the design then is really an implementation thing. Does it work well? Does it look good? It's not just, maybe it doesn't need to look good, it's something very basic. Does it work well? Is it easy to use? Somebody made the point earlier about the short attention span of users. It's got to work for your target audience. You've got to test it on users. Okay, innovation. You can be lucky enough to see an opportunity to do something new. Okay, does it do something new that we haven't thought of yet? So for example, one of the apps that won an award was, and the name escapes me, but I have a slide in a second, was one that you can use on a tablet when you're watching television. So it syncs up, it knows what's on telly, so it's the TV3 app, and it has all this related dynamic information, and you can feed into it about what's on television at the moment. Now, that hasn't been a problem for me so far. I don't sit there at the telly thinking, God, I really could do with finding out about that actor now, or talking to other people watching this. But once you have it, it's really good. So someone was smart enough to recognize the fun that was going to be got out of that. So innovation can really be powerful. Okay, content is king. So think of the Google Maps example or whatever. And the tablet market, it's worth emphasizing, the tablet market really opens this up, because the tablet market has bigger screens, market's still relatively immature, and you can have users that are not limited to looking at a very small phone screen. So the whole education market and other obvious content-related markets are going to hit, are already hitting a big growth spurt as the tablet market matures. So there are real business opportunities there. Okay, and then reach. Reach is critical. How big is the target market? Preferably not national, preferably international. If your reach is limited, you're going to find it very difficult to produce an app that's going to spread to the extent that you're going to make money out of it. Okay, so Life in the Womb, you've seen it already, and the reason I'm mentioning it is that it won the Appies last year. Okay, so it was a fantastic, and still is, a fantastic app. And in terms of the criteria, it scored well in everything. So utility, yes, it absolutely solved a problem for me. Well, I wasn't pregnant, but generally for people. So instead of, for anyone who's had a baby who's been using, when you're pregnant, what to expect when you're expecting, and has the dog-eared copy that you've passed around, this did that, but 10 times better. So in terms of utility, it's fantastic. It's too late for me, but others may benefit. Okay, so design, fantastic. The look and feel of it, the innovation. What was mentioned earlier was they weren't limited by when you were talking about it, what an app could do. It was driven by people who really had an ambition to do a good design. Innovation, interesting, the circle part, the way you used it immediately hit you on how innovative the whole design of this was. Okay, content, yes, content, fantastic. I want that content. If I'm pregnant, I want this app. Everybody who's pregnant wants to know exactly what's happening every day. And reach, yeah, we have babies all over the world, so infinite reach. So this really has the potential to hit huge audiences. Okay, so it was a star across all the categories. Okay, the next one was Showpal that I just mentioned. This was another one in a specific category, but it's the one that goes with the TV3 channel, whereby it's synced in with the content and you can watch television and dynamically link in with what's going on. So you're watching telly, and then there's information related to it, and you can link with other people who are watching it and all the rest. Okay. Halo, another version was up as well. So everybody knows Halo at this point. Utility, yes, in spades, and it takes it on from there. Okay, so what I wanted to think about was then, that's all very well when you have the answer, the app is there, but how do you think of an award-winning app? And what you need is, you need the light bulb moment. You need that's a great idea. And you have to start with the hard questions. If you have an idea, does it fulfill the utility criteria? The other ones come after it, but it has to get past that one. Okay, so how do you get that moment? Now, there's no magic formula, or else I'd be very rich. But it's a little bit of like what Claire was saying. So what gap can you identify? What problems need to be solved? Okay, and there's almost a time and motion exercise you can do that for your target market. What group of people do you want to target? At the moment, in my opinion, the apps market is still saturated with a very specific bias towards a target market. It is not serving all the market of people who have smartphones and tablets. So there are gaps there for the profiles of people where the mobile devices are growing. Okay, how does mobility and location help? Think Tinder, the app as you go out somewhere and you want to see who's around. So how does the fact that it's mobile and that it knows where all the users are, how does that help? What's the revenue model? We've spoken about that already. But just when you have the idea, mock it up, pen and paper, sketch it up. It doesn't matter, storyboard it, prototyping tools. Okay, so if I was to come up with my light bulb moment, I was putting this saying, if I'm going to talk to you about how you think of ideas, how do you come up with an award-winning app, then my time and motion, if I followed myself around for a day thinking I could really do with, this is a problem I have at this moment, my wish list, just based on the other day when I wrote these slides, was I would love to have remote internet access control to be able to switch off internet access in my house from my phone. I can't do that. And the reason I want to do that is because I have a 12-year-old at home. So I want to be able to switch the internet off, which is really mean, but is really very important when you get to that stage. And I want to even be able to see what was accessed on the internet from that. So anyway, parking machine payment, it's done. Great. I've started using it. Fantastic. Homework app. I want to be able to see what my kids' homework is on my phone. In other words, what's set, and tick it off to say it's done. But I can't do that yet. There isn't anything. Table booking for Saturday nights. Okay, a little bit more difficult in terms of data, but I would love to be able to just go, these have some places, these do, click, book those. Safety app. I have older members of my family who I'd love them to have a safety app so they can just click a button to say I'm in trouble or something is a problem. Mobile cash, we've spoken about already. A tap checker. I'm going to be obsessed with water charges. I'd like to know there's a tap running in the house. With a bit of hardware and an app, you can do it. Okay, and more and more. You can just follow yourself around, but more interestingly, pick your target market and follow them around, not literally, but metaphorically. The gaps are there and waiting to be filled. Okay, but don't forget some key questions. What platform? We spoke about that already. iPhone, small audience, but they make more money at the moment. Android, free, but harder to get money. Okay, what devices? Phone, tablet, both. Which are you going to target? They have different ways of being used. Want to make money? Reach is going to be critical. You can't do something seasonal or overly national or for a small group of people. Okay, free revenue model, we've already spoken about that. And what kind of app? Look at the app stores, what's out there? What are the top downloads? And are you going to differentiate yourself? Who'll develop it? I'll come back to that in a moment. Nearly at the end now. Okay, no buts. Here are the buts that people come up with. There's already an app out there like mine. Okay, great. That means it must be worth doing. There should be an app already out there like yours, but you're going to do better. Okay, I've no money. Yeah, that's a common problem. Can you develop? Can you use App Inventor or can you use App Studio from Windows? Just like we saw App Inventors for the Android one. Do you know a developer? Can you scrape some money together to get some to pay someone, or do you have a buddy who's a developer and you can mock it up? I have a great idea, somebody might steal it. I hear this all the time from my students. I'm going to tell you what my final year project is, but I don't want anyone else to know about it or steal my idea. And I'm like, you're grand. Like, it's fine. Almost every app is replicable anyway. Just go for it. Just go for it. Almost every app is able to, but somebody has to do it and do it well. Okay. That's the end. Go for it is the overall message.